5, 2, 7, 4. Hey everyone, welcome to a special mini episode of the Analytics Power Hour. It's a little bit of a unique little one. We haven't done one of these in quite some time. I'm super excited to be joined with two of my co-hosts, Val Kroll and Tim Wilson. And I'm Michael Helbling. And we don't do this that often anymore, but we thought there's something coming up that we thought, well, we'd like to just sit down for a few minutes and chat. So outside of our regularly scheduled show. So we're going to be, along with our other co-host, Julie Hoyer, in Phoenix this June for Marketing Analytics Summit, June 4th through the 7th. In fact, if you're thinking about coming, and we really recommend that you do, because we'd love to see you, we have a discount code that you can use to get 20% off. It's APH20. So please use that. Register to come. We will be there. We'll be doing a live recording of the show there. And we are super excited to hang out with friends, colleagues, fans, whatever the case may be. And I thought we'd just talk a little bit today about some of our experiences over the years. You know, Marketing Analytics Summit has been around in some form for, I think, over 20 years. Which is it's a good long time.
Were you at the you went to early? Was it the first one you were?
No, my first one was in, I think, 2005. So about a year into my analytics career, I did a little trick. I went to my boss and I said, hey, I want to attend these two conferences this year. One was some random search engine conference, and the other one was, at that time, it was called eMetrics. So that's the one I really wanted to go to. And it was held in Santa Barbara, California, at a really nice hotel, like a super ritzy hotel, maybe even the Ritz, I don't remember. And my boss goes, I don't know if we can afford to go to two conferences. I was like, okay, we'll just go to this one. So that's
anchoring principles.
Yeah, exactly. So I got it to go. That was the first time in 2005. What about you, Tim? What was your first year?
It was definitely DC. I was trying to figure it out. I think it was like 2011. I have very, very vivid memories of the conference. One of the most vivid ones is getting on the elevator when Jim Stern got on the elevator and basically just like locking up. Like I absolutely froze. And which is, it's comical because Jim is not would not put him down as an intimidating figure or a unwelcoming presence, but I was just like, it's Jim Stern.
Yeah.
So I have other memories of that specific conference as well, but it was DC, which was kind of an odd one to be a first one to go to.
What about you, Val? When was your first?
So a little later than you guys, but I was 2 months and 10 days into my analytics career when I went to my first eMetrics. I'll never forget, because I started on April 1st. I'm like, what an April Fool's Day. It's my embarking on my journey from market research to digital analytics. But it was in Chicago. And if you're only on the audio version of this, be sure to get your hands on the video version, because this throwback.
Oh,
it's
wow.
the conference guide of my first eMetrics conference, where like, I just can't even remember back to when it was like, the sessions were printed out with like the room numbers and like where to go. And yeah, so that was my first foray into all of that. And look at this gem too, the passport from all of the vendors.
You had to go around and get your
stamps.
Of the three of us, the
Did
person,
you actually
because she
that?
lives
Go
in
through
an urban place, lives in the smallest footprint residence by far. And you've held on to that stuff. Did you have to go to cold storage? Did you have to go to the storage unit
I didn't. That's pretty funny. But I was looking through these gems of my hoarding, of my experience. And this is a story of a girl who was too afraid to talk to people in vendor booths. The only stamp I got was DAA out of all the booths.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, did you actually go through and get a stamp from all the booths? I don't think I've ever done it a single time, because I'm also not.
But anybody who comes to Phoenix should definitely go and do that, because the sponsors are a big part of the conference.
I have since learned.
Yeah, actually, don't be intimidated.
In addition to just sort of it being kind of cool that it's been around for a long time, it's been a great part of the community, but typically there's great learning that people experience there as well. Like, what are some things that you remember that you took home from one of these conferences?
I've got a bunch of like little things. I've got like very clear memories of Chauncey K. Phillips. She was at Dell, I think, at the time, and I remember her presenting on connecting T-Leaf to some voice of customer. Like that was the first that I had, and it was okay. It was kind of a cool technical connection, but that was like a little light bulb went on about behavioral data with attitudinal data, which lots of people talk about that now. Still, it seems like very, very few companies do it, or it's a single company has tried to bake that in. But I was like, yeah, that's one that I literally have talked about for years. I don't remember which eMetrics it was. I don't know. I remember the room vaguely. But that was one. I feel like I've got a bunch of like little profound ideas that just hadn't occurred to me. And then I was like, oh, that's clever.
Unlocked something for you. I remember I don't think it was the first one that I went to. I think it might've been like the year later that someone was on stage from Macy's and they were talking about how they stopped reporting data or their transactions by web versus in store because they're like, we're not in competition. We're all trying to work towards the same goal. And I'm like, it's so simple. And I didn't work in an e-commerce context whatsoever at the time, but it just like really helped me like frame out and paint the picture of like goal setting and outcomes and like how, disparate teams, just because it's like a dimension within your tool doesn't mean that it's a good point of comparison for like trying to paint the picture of what's going on with the business. So I remember that being like a mind-blowing moment for me pretty early on.
That's awesome. I remember in my first eMetrics, I think it was Clint Ivey was talking about some of the dashboarding concepts they were using at Disney, I think. And I immediately took all of that home and started using it on all of my projects to try to replicate what I heard in that session. It was so cool. And then
that's actually Carrie Wilkins. I remember seeing her talk about working with CPG, and I think I was seeing that with kind of the first couple of times I was starting to work with some really big CPG companies, and she was kind of giving just like a framework for thinking about CPG and how you can actually measure things effectively. And it was like, it wasn't earth shattering, but it was really clear. And I was like, oh yeah, I just need to be speaking with clarity about what we're doing.
Yeah.
Sorry. That just reminded me of another
that's
one.
Awesome. And I think the other thing that's amazing is you go to these conferences and you run into people that maybe you've only ever seen in other places, like maybe online. Back in the old days, there was this Yahoo forum that everybody hung out on. And so you would meet these people you'd only ever seen posts on that forum, or maybe it's the Measure Slack group or, LinkedIn or something. But there's these great professional relationships that you start to form into friendships over the years. I remember oh, go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say, on that front, I remember meeting this lady named Michelle Hinojosa.
Oh, yeah.
You remember her? So, who is the sister of Mo Kiss? She's been Michelle Kiss for years. But that I remember being lobby bar, and we had known each other kind of on Twitter a lot. And she just kind of launched herself across the bar, and that may be where my discomfort with hugs actually, traces back to. But
unpack that trauma, Tim.
Yeah, now that I think about it,
like, it's supposed to be positive about Marketing Analytics Summit. Oh man, I remember one in this might have been the year I met Matt Gershoff, who's been on the show a number of times. His wife Heather Green is like a globally renowned expert in whiskeys and things like that, and she was doing a tasting of like a bunch of whiskeys in the lobby bar, and so we were just getting to try all these amazing whiskeys, and so it was pretty awesome to hang out with them. And
so we can say we knew her when. Right now she's like a successful CEO.
She's way cooler,
award-winning brand, written books. We're like, yeah, we knew when she had to like stand around and
tell kind of people about 18-year-old Glenn Fittich.
Help a bunch of nerds understand the difference between
humble beginnings.
Hey, it's a pleasant memory.
I remember that first eMetrics in 2013 that I was talking about before, I was 2 months and 10 days in and really questioning my
You're really proud
choices
of
about my
that
Switch.
2 months. You're really proud of that 2 months and 10 days.
going
I'm just,
to a
it's staring at it. It says June 10th. June 10th. So it's like very front of mind for me. But, oh, sorry, go ahead, Michael.
No, I was going to ask you sort of like, did it confirm your choice or did it put more doubt in your mind? Like, how did that?
No,
Marketing
it
Analytics
confirmed
Summit?
my choice.
Awesome.
Because we had a birds of a feather session, and I was literally like, first of all, I don't know what half of these topics mean. I'm like way too new at some of this stuff. But I ended up sitting in a table that was talking about, I forget exactly what the topic was, something around working with your partners, something around like stakeholder management. I forget exactly what the topic was. And for those of you who know me well, this will not come as a surprise, but I actually cried during this conversation because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not the worst analyst ever. Other people deal with some of these struggles, because I just felt so alone. I was just like the only person at my company who was doing some of the things I was doing, and it felt like I was just failing at every turn. So I was like getting everyone's names and numbers down and like formed some great connections with people I still chat with today. But it definitely that was. And then I went to another conference shortly thereafter, and it was the combination of meeting those people in person and finding that community that kept me in it. So yeah,
That's awesome. Well, I think that's the enduring thing about it, is that it's been a great place for community. And so that's why we're so excited to be heading back out there this June, and we hope to see you. Again, the dates are June 4th through the 7th at Marketing Analytics Summit in Phoenix, Arizona. I've heard it's a beautiful time of year in Phoenix. It's probably really hot there, actually. I don't know. But
it's always beautiful in
to
Phoenix.
cool things off a little, we do have a discount code, which is APH20. That's for 20% off the registration. So we'd love to see you there. Val, Tim, thank you. It's fun to reminisce about this stuff, and it's exciting to see you both out there in June.
It'll be fun to be doing this in 3 dimensions instead of 2.
Exactly.
Yeah. Bring your tomatoes.
And I know
we'll be live.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, hey. Well, I will say, if you do get a chance to come into the live recording, we typically have a few things to give away. So there will be prizes. Mm-hmm. Don't bring tomatoes, please. Unless they're really nice, fresh tomatoes. Yeah. All right. Let's wrap this up. Thank you again, Tim and Val. And I know I speak for both of them when I say, no matter if you can make it to Marketing Analytics Summit or not, remember the community is a great place to be, and they'll help you keep analyzing.